Hey everybody, how's it going? So lately I've been working on the 100 Heads challenge from a couple years ago, and since that's pretty much encompassing all of my brain and is really exciting to me, I figured why not let's just do a head together. I don't have many heads left to choose from that aren't like really gnarly beardy guys. I have very slim pickings on who can like match the energy of this guy. I picked a girl, and let's get started. So I'm gonna have this pretty close by. So the first thing I'm doing is just sketching out the head and trying to get the angle of the tilt the right way, and also try to map out some of the features of her face, like the cheekbones, and making sure that the chin is the right angle. And it does come out a little bit more right there. And her head is not that tall. Let's make it a little shorter. Alright, so now that her head is pretty much sketched out, I want to check the angle. Let's use my pencil. It's off! Oh no, we gotta fix that. Better. I've found that if I sketch out the line of like the angle of the eyes, then it can help me keep the eyes on track a little better. So then I'm checking to make sure with my pencil, making sure that each eye is the same size. So I'm just trying to get the shape of the eyes right. And at this point in the drawing, I'm not worrying so much about the details. I'm just mapping out where everything is and how big everything is going to be. Her nose will go here, little nostrils. She is looking slightly down at the camera, so I'm trying to I have to keep that in mind for when I'm drawing other features too. So we're gonna see a little bit more of the bottom of her nose, and then the middle of her mouth is gonna be, it looks like it's exactly in the center between the nose and the chin, and her mouth is very slightly open. And I tend to draw eyebrows really high, so I gotta make sure that I'm drawing these eyebrows low enough but not angry. And I can already tell that I'm skewing these eyebrows a bit, so let's draw a line straight across, parallel to the eye line, and I can tell that I have to raise this eyebrow up. Eyelashes. I tend to draw eyes a little cross-eyed, and she's looking cross-eyed. Let's fix this. And then she's got reflections. She's got long reflections here in her eyes. And her eyes are really dark, so I'm not sure if I will keep them really dark. Like, you can't even see that the pupils are there. Her hairline will start here. And you can see the ear peeking out just a tiny bit from inside the hair. It's really dark in the shadow, but I still want to make sure that I have it there. And this part is coming out a little too much. I'm going to slim her down just a tad and round it out. Her features aren't this sharp. Okay, so I forgot that she's looking a tiny bit down, so we need to make sure that the ears are below her nose line if she's looking down. And you can only see the bottom part of the ear because it's covered mostly with her hair, so I'm only gonna draw in the bottom part. And then this hair comes down and it's covering up the right side of the eyebrow. It's really helpful to have drawn the oval shape of the head, even though I know I'm gonna be covering it with hair, because now I can see the shape of where the hair should go and make sure that I'm not gonna warp the head at all. when I add the hair on top of it. And this girl is wearing a turtleneck, so that's going to be fun to draw. But her neck is looking really wide, so I'm noticing on the reference photo, it comes down from right here in the eye. In the reference photo, her hands are coming up over her head. I'm trying to decide if I want to include her hands or if I should just leave them off. But she looks a little unfinished if I don't, so I think I'm gonna have to. Do I want her arm to overlap with his face at all? Like go behind his head? This swoops back behind her shoulder. I think I want to keep her separate from the guy on the left. So I won't draw over or behind him at all. And these hands are kind of blurry in the reference, so I'm gonna do my best. Let's see. So this finger goes behind that one. And then there's another finger that you can barely see off to the side. This one is gonna go... Okay, I'm starting to get confused. These fingers, you can't really tell which finger is coming from which hand. So this is the pad of her, what is that called? Like the thumb something or other. And then this is her, the left hand, her right hand. And then the thumb comes up. This is another finger. And I'm convinced that she only has 3 fingers on one hand. On both hands. She only has 3 fingers and thumbs. And I'm starting to get really confused. It's looking more and more like that elephant illusion, where like the elephant feet, it looks like it has 5 feet, but then also 4 feet. So I think I'm just going to finish this at a different time. Okay, let's move on with the eyes. And forget that the hands exist. And since you can't really see the pupils in the reference photo, her eyes are so dark, I'm just gonna do the same thing here. Okay, so I plan to use the blending tool for all of the shading to match the style of the guy. So I'm just putting cross hatching everywhere that I know is gonna be really dark. Or not really dark, but just darker than the other areas. And then as I use my blending tool, it will pick up the graphite and spin it around a bit. So her lips have a highlight on the bottom part, so I'm not gonna color that in right now. This part's dark. Oh, we forgot this side of the hair. And she doesn't really have an eyelid crease above her eyes, but it is darker up there, so I'm kind of just adding it in so that the blending tool can use it in the future. And then she's got some shading underneath her nose too. And the whole left side of her face is going to be in the shade more than the right side of her face, so I'm adding some cross hatching on this side, so the blending tool can use it later. Let's add in the earring. I'm trying to amp myself up to do the hands by doing something that absolutely doesn't need to be done right now. Okay, so the arch of her eyebrow comes out too far. I just need to make it a little closer. And I'm still not ready to do the hands yet, so what can I do that's not the hands yet? So I guess kind of the last thing that I can do before I need to address the hands is to color in the hair. So I am definitely doing this. And as I am drawing in the hair, I am paying attention to the direction of the hair, so these parts are getting tucked behind her shoulder. But other than that, I'm not really worrying so much about filling it in, like getting all the lines filled in totally black. The blending tool is going to be awesome for this. And I'm also not super caring about the overlap of the lines. It doesn't really matter to me at the end if you can see the overlap of the pencils, and the blending tool will help out a little bit to smooth those out. Oh no, am I running out of lead? Is there any more in here? There sure isn't. Okay, I think I'm at a place where I can't really do anything else until the hands are done. So let's do these hands. So I'm just going to erase the whole thing and start over. And hopefully we can just have a plan and it'll work. So I'm going to draw all of the fingers and ignore the left hand. I'll draw all the fingers on the right hand first. Okay, but this doesn't work because her hand is tilted more. I should see more of the pinky. All right, so now that I'm doing the other hand, I'm gonna draw each finger of this hand. This one goes behind this finger, so I'm gonna erase inside of this finger. Now the next one is gonna come, it goes behind here. And then her next finger goes behind the next finger. Okay. So I mean, it doesn't look like the best of hands in the world, but I'm hoping that the shading I can kind of get away with a little bit more because the shading will trick your eye into seeing it the right way. All right, this is the fun part. I'm so excited for this. See how it just smooths out the hair? Makes it look all silky. It's like magic. I like to do the darkest part first because it kind of loads up the tool for the other parts of that I'm gonna need it for later. So now I'm gonna kind of work on the next darkest thing, but I'm gonna use it really lightly first, just in case it's too intense. I'm like barely pushing down on this at all. Let's push the ear back so you can barely see it. So now we can move on to the parts of the face that I did some cross-hatching on that are a little bit lighter. So she has kind of bags under her eyes. And as I use this tool over the cross-hatching, it will you won't be able to see the lines of the cross-hatching. It'll smooth those out. Now the brightest part of her nose, she has like a shine right on the tip of her nose, but you won't be able to see the shine if her whole nose is bright. So I'm trying to get the shading of her nose to look darker, but also look normal. So it doesn't look like she has like a broken nose or anything. And I like to kind of jump around as I do this, because if I stay on one part too long, then I might make it too dark, and it's hard for me to see the value of how dark I need to go. Like I can't see accurately if I'm too honed in on one area. So I'll do a little bit here and there, and then as I'm removed from like different spots, then I can see clearer what needs to change. I hope that makes sense. So I was too nervous to make her nose dark at first, but now I'm not so nervous now. So she doesn't really have any highlights on this side of the face that's so light that I need to keep it white. So I'm just gonna go over these really lightly. So the only parts that I want to leave absolutely white are the parts of her face that she has super highlighted. So everything else I'm kind of just making it super light, but still gray. I'm trying to push this hand back by making it darker. The darker it is, the further back it feels like it is to your eyes. So I'm trying to just make them darker so you don't notice them as much and notice the errors in them. So I want to add a highlight here and in between her eyes, but it's not dark enough to where the eraser would even make a difference. So I have to add some shading here and in between her eyes so that when I do erase it, it will look like an actual highlight. And I did smudge these eyes out and it smudged a little too dark, so I'm just lightening them up a bit. And now we can do the highlights in between the eyes and on her nose. Ooh, look at that. And then after I do this, I'm gonna need to add a little bit more definition with the pencil again, just to add some more details. And now that I have my pencil out and we're done with the shading tool, I just have to go in and make all of the darkest spots darker because they did get blended out and got less dark. Something looks weird here. Oh, her ear is too light. I gotta push her ear back. And I want her earrings to sparkle, so I'm gonna take away as much as I can with the eraser. Oh, they look so cool. Okay, so in the reference photo, her lips are a tiny bit open and you can barely see inside that there's teeth. They're so shaded that you can't really tell, but I think I want to emphasize that more. So the sweater is looking a little too smooth. I want to add some more hard lines to these wrinkles, more folds. Oh, I forgot to add in her hair wispies. Okay, so in the reference photo, you can see in her reflection in her eyes that there's a guy standing in her reflection. So I'm just gonna add in like the faintest line. And there's the guy standing there. And number 48 head is done. So thanks so much for watching. If you want to stick around and see the evolution of all of the heads so far, let's get to it. So this first page, I was trying to just get the heads in quickly because the challenge starts as do 100 heads in 10 days, and I had to get 10 heads in a day. So I was just doing them quick and trying to get the layouts of the heads done. And then this next page, I took a little liberties, and it's a little embarrassing. I started in with markers, and I'm not super pleased with how they turned out. And instead of trying to fix them, I just kind of wrote it off as a loss and I moved on. So then a couple days later, I moved on to the left side of the page, and I kind of just kept going in order of where they came in the Pinterest page. And once I finished it, I decided that I wanted to think out the pages before I started. So I decided that for the right side, I wanted 6 females, all kind of the same energy. And I really was excited about how this turned out. So then when I got to the next page, I chose the gnarliest looking guys that came up in the next 10 people or so. And I started with the top 2, and I really was not excited about doing these, and I think it shows, especially in 33. His proportions are just they're not mapped out the right way, and I didn't even care to fix it. I just did it quickly, and then I kept going. But 34 and 36 were really exciting for me, and so when I finished out the page and I found that I had a whole new page that I could do anything on, I decided to take out my colored pencils, and I chose one colored pencil for 37, and I love how he turned out. I exaggerated his mustache, and I think it was just amazing. This page was a lot of fun, and I chose one color for each picture, and I thought they looked so cool that I wanted to start incorporating more than one color on each picture, and that's where 45 came in. And she was a lot of fun to do because she wasn't so intimidating with the colors. It was kind of the same color scheme. And on the right side of the page is the bubblegum girl from last week's episode. And she did bleed through to the other side, but I still wanted to use that page to give her some separation from the bleed through. I decided to do a light layer of gray on the outside of her, and I think it turned out okay. But then something in me was just missing the drama of the single color, so I decided that for 47, I wanted to go back to the single, just a graphite pencil. And as I was drawing him, I was bored with just doing cross-hatching, so I decided to experiment with the shading tool, and I think he turned out really cool looking. So thanks so much for watching. It was a lot of fun, and I will see you next time. Bye!